Starting. I'll wait for 2 more people. One. Okay, 2. This is potentially one of the most magnificent sites, not only in the entire Galilee, but could be in the entire country from the Roman Byzantine period. And what is it? We are now in a villa of a very wealthy resident of Tsipori. And we know that the people that lived here were wealthy. How do we know that? Because they have a bathroom right over there that says to health and the indoor plumbing. The rabbi said, how do you know if a person is wealthy? They have an indoor plumbing. They have an outhouse near their dining room. That's the sign of a wealthy person. Anyway, what else could we know about this building? Now, the building itself was preserved in a style of reconstruction that would not be acceptable today. This very dark, heavy building, it almost distorts what the actual building would be like. What we're looking at is the triclinium. The triclinium is the main room that you hosted your guests as you sat on couches that were shaped in a C, or no, how you would call that over here, okay? And it looked into the garden. So those would be 3 open doors spilling over to the garden. And when we leave the building, if you take a look backwards, you can see where the garden extended in the outside of the house. And they did a very poor job in restoring that because they wanted to make sure that the elements, meaning wind, water, and cold and hot and cold, wouldn't affect this beautiful, beautiful mosaic. And it's not the only mosaic they found here, because all the side rooms had mosaics. There was probably either 2 or 3 stories to this house, to this villa. Now, what is depicted on this unbelievable mosaic floor that is found just beneath us here? And I could spend at least an hour just describing every single panel and every single thing. I'll give you the literature and a reference to the literature. You're welcome to read how Zev interprets it, how Rina Talgam interprets it, how others have interpreted it. I'll bring some books to class next time we meet if you want to look at those in specifically. But what we see here, though, is that there's something very special about it. There's one main theme. There are a few themes that are floral and geometric, but the main theme, which is depicted in the center and around the outside, not the fish or the birds or things like that, but are the life, the episodes of the life of the god Dionysius, and the main features of the worship or the festival that is around Dionysius, which is primarily, basically what it is bringing of the first wines to the temple of Dionysius. Dionysius, again, was the god of youth, was the god of wine, was the god of parties. Very popular god in the entire Roman world, especially in this part of the Roman world where you produced lots of wine. Okay, and the center panel, what do you see? If you can read Greek, it says Herakles and Dio. That was the competition, the drinking competition between Hercules and Hercules, the Roman way of saying it. Herakles is the Greek. And Dionysius, who won, by the way? Dionysius. Hercules tried to down it all down at once, and eventually what happens? He throws up, and that's on one of the panels down here. He throws up everything that he drank. Dionysius drank it slowly, and in media, and was able to think. You could see the people that are stomping on the grapes, and you could see people that are playing musical instruments as they bring the grapes to the temple, and you could see other episodes of Dionysius's life and things like that. Now, we are in a private residence of a very wealthy person that lived in Tsipori. Where are we? Tsipori. When was this built? So according to, again, the archaeology is based on the coins, the pottery, and everything else that we learn about it. I don't have the time to go into the specifics. It's from the end of the 2nd century, beginning of the 3rd century, which means around the time that Yuda Nasi lived in Sipori. So who lived here? Was there a Roman governor living here at the same time? We have absolutely no records of a Roman governor or of any other Roman wealthy person living in the city. And so Zev Weiss suggested, a few times he said it hesitantly, and later he said it even more, maybe this is the house of Yuda Nasi, the most wealthy person living in the city. Yuda Nasi could have a floor like that? So Rina Talgam says absolutely not. Okay, Rina Talgam is an expert on Roman things. She said this is so specific, it's so detailed, it has to be somebody pagan that is wanting to say something very special about their relationship with Dionysius. So she would say it's some type of Roman wealthy landowner that nonetheless is living here, even though we don't have any documentation in historical records. It can't be somebody Jewish that lived here. So we have two extremes. In the middle, Isaiah Goffney said, listen, I don't know that this was actually the house of Judah the Prince. Maybe that's a bit too extensive. But I can assume, based on everything that we've learned about Judah the Prince until now, he would feel very comfortable sitting here and having a discussion about local politics, about the world with whoever is sitting here, whether it was an official in the Roman government, whether it was just a wealthy landowner, or whether it was some other person that we don't know about. But he would feel, meaning this is part of the world that he was still a part of. And again, we only got a miniature picture of it. And from the Mishnah, I don't know that we would go to the extent of saying this would be in Tzipori. You understand? I said some of the things that we found here very much fit the picture that we saw. This doesn't. This is magnificent. Now, there's a beautiful woman who's in the portrait of this woman here. We often refer to her as the Mona Lisa of the Galilee. It's an amazing depiction in terms of the workmanship, and Rina Talgam explains to us how the size of the tesserae, of the mosaic stones that were used here, is of the best that is found in any of the Roman East at the time. Okay, we're competing with some of the best mosaics that are found in the vicinity of Rome. But what's it doing here? Who is that lady? We have no idea. It's probably maybe the woman of the house. Maybe it's a generous depiction of the woman of the house, meaning she didn't exactly look that beautiful. The artist was able to make her even look more beautiful. That relates to what we just saw in the rabbinic discussion. In any case, we don't know. What is 100% sure is they had Yeke grandmother. Why? Because you have the masking tape on the floor to exactly where you put the furniture. And people that know what I'm saying, fine. If not, everybody's got the grandmother that's where you put the furniture, and they put tape on the floor where you put it. That's what those little markings are there, that you have the 3 couches that you recline. What side do you recline on? Your left side. Why do you recline on the left side? Because you eat with your right hand. Okay, it's very simple. That's secondary. That's not the main reason. The main reason is that's how you eat. Okay, anyway, that's the story here. There's so much more we could talk about preservation of mosaics, about how they did it here. You'll see a few pictures of it and a reconstruction as we leave. Unfortunately, we have to race to the Nile building. We'll make a few, and then we have to get to the synagogue. So let's keep moving.